This is a video on how to do Punnett squares. Now, before we get started, we have to define a couple of key terms. So, here's our little cheat sheet or answer key to help us get through this. All right, when you see homozygous, you are going to think the same. And there are only two combinations of this, the same. You can have capital R, or you can have lowercase r. Now, we have heterozygous, which is they are different. You're going to have only one type of difference, and that is capital R, lowercase r. Now, we also have our two things down here, phenotype versus genotype. When the problem asks for a phenotype, they are asking for a characteristic or something that we're looking for. It could be blue eyes, brown eyes, tall or short. That's what we're looking for. The genotype are the actual letters that go with it. Capital R, lowercase r, lowercase r. Now, you could really use any letters for this as long as they're the same ones. I chose R because they're easier to differentiate between the capital and the lowercase. What you also need to know is dominant versus recessive. Dominant is always going to be represented by a capital letter. Again, I chose R. Recessive is going to be a lowercase r. Now, when a problem has a capital R and a lowercase r, that dominant letter is going to win. So if dominant was for blue eyes, okay, the dominant would win. This lowercase r turns into a placeholder. Unless the problem has two lowercase. Then in that case, the recessive gene, which we'll say is brown eyes, would be brown eyes, is what that child will have. All right, now that we've defined some of these terms, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these problems. Let's start off with a little bit easy, where we don't have to use the defined terms, and we are just looking at the squares. All right, for problem 1, we have a heterozygous, capital B, lowercase b, and a homozygous, little b. So let's put that into a Punnett square. We have our square, well, rectangle, but our square here. We're going to put our letters. Each parent is going to go on the side of this box. So I'm going to put capital B here and lowercase b here. We just moved here to there. Now we've got lowercase b. We'll go here and here. So our final answer, we're going to bring this down. We bring down our capital B. We move this b to the side. We're going to move this b to the side and our lowercase down. We're going to move capital B down, this one to the side, this one down, and this one to the side. Now, we have 50% homozygous recessive and 50% heterozygous dominant. Okay, let's look at this next one. Capital M, so we have homozygous dominant, and capital M, lowercase m. We have heterozygous dominant. Now we've got our square here. I'm going to have to make it a little smaller because I'm going to run out of room. So we have capital M here, capital M here, a capital here, and a lowercase. So we put our capital and our capital. We have our capital to bring down, and we have our capital to bring over here. Now we have our capital up here. Capitals will start first, and then we have our lowercase, which I'm going to make it smaller because M's are a little bit harder to just distinguish between. We have another capital, and we have a lowercase. So here we have 50%. No, we don't. Yeah, we have 50% homozygous dominant, and we have 50% heterozygous dominant. So half and half. All right, our last one here. Then we'll go on to a word problem. All right, we have a heterozygous dominant and another heterozygous dominant. We're going to put our square. We're going to put our parents to the side. So we have our capital R and our lowercase r, our capital R and our lowercase r. We're going to bring those down. We have our capital R and our capital R. We have our capital R and our lowercase. We have our capital R and our lowercase. And now we have two lowercase r's. So this one is a little different. We have 25% homozygous dominant. We have 50% heterozygous dominant and another 25% homozygous recessive. All right, let's take a look at a word problem. All right, number 4. Yellow is dominant over pink in a type of flower. Show the cross of a homozygous dominant and a homozygous recessive. All right, so let's start with our phenotype. Our phenotype is our characteristic. In this problem, we have the yellow is one and pink is the other. We're going to go ahead and tell which one is dominant. Yellow is dominant, so I'm going to put a capital D above our yellow, and our recessive is pink. I'm going to put a lowercase r next to it. Okay. Our genotype is what we're going to look for next. Well, let's see. We have a homozygous dominant. So homo means the same, and dominant means we're going to have capital letters. So I'm going to go with R again. You can use any letter. R is just easier for me to see the difference. So this is our first parent, homozygous dominant. Now our second parent is a homozygous also, but they're a recessive. So it's going to be two little r's. Let's go ahead and put it in our boxes. So we have a capital R, a lowercase r here, and a lowercase r. So we have a capital and a lowercase, another capital and a lowercase, and another capital and a lowercase. All right, so we're going to look at our chances now. Looking at our phenotype and genotype and our offspring, we're going to look at the chances of what the offspring will have. So each one of these has a dominant trait. So that means since our yellow is dominant, we're going to have a 100% chance for our plant to have yellow in the color. So all of our offspring are going to have yellow. See, this little r turned into a placeholder because it is recessive. All right, let's look at one more. All right. In cats, black fur is dominant over ginger fur. Show the cross of a heterozygous black male and a homozygous ginger fur. Ugh. All right. Let's look at the phenotype first. The phenotype are the two characteristics we're going to be looking at. This is black fur and ginger. All right, so our black fur, it says it's going to be dominant, so I'm going to put a D. And our ginger is recessive. I'm going to put an R. Our genotype is heterozygous black male. So hetero means different. I'm going to use R again. We have our heterozygous because they're different. One's capital and one is lowercase. And now we have a homozygous ginger fur. Since ginger we know is recessive, that means that we are going to have 2 lowercase. So now let's put it into our box. Capital lowercase, lowercase, lowercase. Now we have a capital lowercase, 2 lowercase, a capital lowercase, and lowercase lowercase. Now let's look at our chances. Our chance for the offspring to have black fur is 50% because these two have a dominant trait. That dominant trait is black fur. And we also have 50% to get ginger fur, because these two are recessive.